This is an example of bringing your units in a surround to try to force a town portal when you don't actually want to fight. This is a very good use of surround. If you don't actually want to fight your opponent, get him a surround, force a town portal, and fight him later. Here's a good example of how to block out of surrounds, actually. This is Undead vs. Night Elf on on Secret Valley, actually, is the name of this map. I'll include all these maps for you in the replay. But you notice the Night Elf player is using his Huntresses to block off possible surrounding, basically creating a door so he can escape. He had Huntresses on both sides of him, so he was able to quickly maneuver his way out of that surround. Although the Undead player did a pretty good job of surrounding the whole mass of units, the 2 Huntresses and the Night Elf player was still able to get out quickly enough. He's now moving in for another surround attempt, this time on some Huntresses, although he's going to have to abandon it. This is another clip, actually, but it's close to that same scene where he is going to be able to get some surrounds off on these Huntresses. He decided that the Demon Hunter was a bad target at this point, since his ghouls were taking pretty heavy hits from all the Huntresses and Archers. And now that the altar is getting mass repaired by all those wisps, he goes in to surround some hunts, get some experience from his surround attempts. He also brings his Rod of Necromancy around and uses a Dust of Appearance, because it's nighttime now, and an option for the Night Elf to avoid being surrounded, avoid losing units this round, is to use Hide. So once Dust of Appearance is used, the Night Elf player realizes his Hide isn't going to be an option, and one hunt goes down now. The second hunt here takes a lot of damage, but he actually escapes there using some Moonwells. The clip actually got cut short there. Here we got a good example of the ghouls and the Death Knight's Unholy Aura, which gives him a speed increase, going on a Naga Sea Witch. This Naga Sea Witch did have boots of speed, as you'll see in this clip here, but unfortunately some ghouls were able to cut off his path, and no blockage was able to be made, and this is a pretty key point in this game. It's towards the end of the replay. It's actually probably one of the defining kills in the game. The enemy hero is going to go down a scroll. The beast is used by the undead. The Naga goes down quickly, and some ghouls are then moved forward again to try to get some block off some pathing for the Dryads. He actually separates some Dryads and the Demon Hunter, so that game was declared GG shortly after here. Here we have the Undead focus firing on the Panda Brewmaster, who actually just used a potion of healing to heal himself. But more importantly, I want you to take a look at this Abomination, who's in the middle of the screen now, taking very heavy hits. He wasn't completely surrounded. I call this partial surrounds. You don't always necessarily need to get a surround off on your opponent to do the damage that you're looking for. So that Abomination was partially surrounded by some trees, and actually his own units, and took a lot of focus fire damage from Dryads and actually went down. Here we're going to show an example of surrounding on a Beastmaster. This Beastmaster does have a Scroll of Town portal, and at this point the Undead doesn't want to fight now. Undead typically waits till their tier 3 units are out to really push the pressure, put the pressure on their opponents. So we got to surround off on the Beastmaster, which was the hero with the Town portal, and his goal actually was to have the Beastmaster Town portal. He didn't want to take any significant losses from his ghouls or from anything like that. So he forced a Beastmaster Town portal. Again, surrounding something you can do when you don't want to have the fight happen. This is a really good example of forcing your opponent to use that Town portal when he didn't necessarily want to. He wanted to stay in that fight and make the fight happen for the Undead player. This is an example here of a Night Elf player being extremely greedy early on. Again, not wanting the Undead player to get too much of a creep advantage. And Night Elf players typically want to use Mana Burn on that Death Knight to avoid him having to use too many coils on his creeps or on any enemy opponents. Unfortunately, he got surrounded by some trees and was really far in. He pushed way too far with his Demon Hunter and has to waste his Town portal in this early harass really early. That's very detrimental for this Night Elf player. Here's the same game, again on Twisted Meadows. This Night Elf player still doesn't have a Scroll Town portal on his Demon Hunter and was attempting to make pressure on the Undead's base. Unfortunately, he took a lot of hits from the Tier 2 building of the Night Elf, or the Undead building, which has a Frost attack, and was really slowing down this Demon Hunter. You see how long this Frost slow on the Demon Hunter lasts, giving plenty of time for this Lich and Ghouls to get a surround off. Actually, as soon as the Frost effect fade is when the surround effect happened here, and the Demon Hunter really doesn't have anything he's able to do to get out of this. He doesn't have any Scroll Town portal, Potion of Invulnerabilities, anything he can use to get out. Demon Hunter did go down on that fight. Here we have an example of a very, very aggressive Dreadlord user for this Undead vs. Undead mirror on Echo Isles. The Undead user, the Dreadlord user is using Ghouls versus Fiends, which was like a Dreadlord Fiend type build. And this one actually shows a few missed attempts on the Death Knight. Earlier in the game, as you'll see in some other clips, is this Dreadlord user is using a sleep surround on a lot of fiends to try to get kills very, very aggressively, and he's also using his rods of necromancy to kind of replenish his ghoul army that was taking heavy hits from focus fire from the fiends. So here is repeated use of the sleep to try to get that Death Knight surround. Unfortunately, Death Knight was able to squeeze out on that multiple times, although the clip was cut short again for some reason. I'm not sure why the clips are getting cut short here. So here's another example of using sleep surround. Sleep, very good disable. You don't see this very often. This replay was actually pretty rare. I've included it for you. I'm not sure exactly who's playing in it, but I rarely see sleep surround being used very often, and in this game it actually caused the win for the Dreadlord user here. So if you're an undead player and you're looking for something new to do in mirror matches other than, you know, maybe Lich, or if you're sticking with the standard Death Knight first with fiends, definitely start using surrounds more with your Dreadlord. It's very, very effective on fiends especially, and on getting enemy heroes out really quickly. It's actually best used in another clip that we're going to be seeing to force a town portal very early on in the game when your opponent doesn't know you're going Dreadlord and sleep. Here's actually towards the end of the game, and this Dreadlord is finally going to get one of his sleep surrounds off on this Death Knight and actually going to get the kill. You noticed in the clip there, the Death Knight doesn't have any scrolls of town portal or anything like that to get out. Fortunately, though, he does have Death Pact, which he uses on one of his fiends to try to survive a little bit longer. He's using his focus fire from his Lich and fiends to try to make a way out for him. Fortunately, there's just too many units, and that Death Knight does go down. This is the very early part of that game, before the Death Knight user knows that the Dreadlord user actually has a Dreadlord. So as soon as he sees this, he immediately tries to abandon this harass. Unfortunately, the sleep range really got him, and surround goes off very quickly on this Death Knight user. Whenever you don't want to take heavy hits early on, especially like this, you notice very quickly this player is going to use his Scroll of Town Portal. There's no use of him taking all this extra damage and maybe possibly losing that fiend early on in the game like this. He knows he was beat by this, getting surprised by this Dreadlord user, not having scouted